Welcome back to the off cycle. I know it's been quite a while since I did an update on the vintage Runabout kind of restoration project. I think it's been probably 2 months or so since I uploaded a video, but the boat pretty much is done. It has a couple little finishing touches that I need to do. I'm still working on sourcing or making or having made a windshield for the boat. Everywhere I've gone, they want like $800 to remake a windshield. Not going to spend that on this boat. So I think my next step is basically trying to reinforce the existing windshield and make a mold out of it. And I just buy some plexiglass or some Lexan or polycarbonate, whatever is going to be the best for making a windshield, and form that, heat that up, and with like a propane torch or something, and heat that up and form that around the mold and then trim it to shape. That's going to be really my only option. To have a windshield that kind of looks and matches the boat and matches the era. But I'll go ahead and show you the boat now, and you can see what it looks like. I've had it out yesterday, scuba dove off of it in the St. Johns River down in a little spring in Walatka called Croker Hole. I've pulled some tubes and knee boards on it, and I've done a run down the intercoastal at night to sit on a kind of a dinner date. So it's been running great, and it works awesome. So this is the finished product here. It's come out really great for the amount of money invested in it. I'm really loving it. It's cheap to operate, trailers really well, in and out of the water really easy, small to clean up. I ended up deciding on going with just 2 seats and not adding any more, and I'm really glad I did that, because if we have anybody else, we have a cooler in here and they just sit on the cooler. But this open back really allows us to have a lot of room. Like yesterday when I did my dive, we had a whole bunch of dive gear in here, and anchor and all kinds of stuff, coolers and things like that, and we had plenty of room in here to do that. So it really worked out, rather than having more seats in there or another bench seat or something. It had just been too much clutter in there. So the interior paint, I'm going to do another coat of this and then get underneath the seat boxes. But this is actually, the interior paint is just bilge paint. The top paint is the wet edge, Total Boat wet edge paint, which I was really not impressed with. That stuff was absolutely terrible. I spent a lot of work getting this boat prepped for a good surface finish on the top cap, and that paint pretty much just ruined all that prep. It was awful. Probably to do with the heat and the humidity at the time when I had to apply it. But I mean, you figure you make a boat paint, you should be able to apply it in high heat and high humidity. But this stuff was terrible. Just I thinned it out with their thinner and did everything like I was supposed to do, and it was just terrible. You'd roll it on once, and then if you touched that spot again within if you waited more than 10 seconds, 5 seconds, and you happen to touch that spot again, the paint just peeled right up, and then it started to just kind of cauterize and clot, and it just got thick and bubbly and nasty and got all kinds of texture in it, and it was just a nightmare. I absolutely hate it. Do not use that paint. I know some people have good luck with it, but if you're in Florida and you're trying to apply it in heat and humidity, don't bother with it. Get something else. So I did not want to, I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to install a tack or not. I didn't want to put GPS or anything on there, but I realized last night the place we're going to go dive, which I like to dive a couple times a year, it's in the St. Johns River. It's about 8 to 12 feet deep, and then there's a hole that drops down to about 45 feet. So the river itself is zero visibility, so I need some way to look at the bottom to find that and throw the anchor in the hole and follow the anchor line down into the big hole. And then there's a hidden spring in there, so once you get down to the bottom, it's crystal clear, and there's a kind of a big cavern you can dive into. I just uploaded a video of that if you guys are interested in seeing that dive. Really interesting dive. Definitely not for beginners though, because it's an overhead environment, no visibility and things like that. So all I did was I wired this GPS up, and then my transducer, I just mounted my transducer to a little piece of aluminum, and then I just have it come off, and then while I'm rolling around, I just hang the transducer over in the water, find a spot and bring it back in. I did not want to install a transducer and all that on this boat. I wanted to keep it nice and clean and the minimum amount of time I need to see the bottom, I just use that, so I don't have it permanently installed. The little 60 horse 3-cylinder Merc is doing great. Power trim and tilt is working great. I just had a little bit of a fuel line issue that I solved yesterday, and I had a fuel line leak, so I wasn't able to keep fuel pressure, but I've got that squared away, and it's working good. I'm liking the seats. Really like the seats. I think they match well, and folding down, they're comfortable. They're in the right height, right distance away, so that's working well. The steering system, I was not able to use the existing steering system that came with the boat, even though it was still good. It was a rack kind of steering system. The problem is the Johnson that was on here, the whole steering system was out a little bit farther, I think. And the steering cable came through this slot. And once I got the Mercury on here, it didn't line up, and it was about maybe 3 or 4 inches short. So I ended up, and I couldn't find a steering cable, new steering cable, didn't know what brand it was. There was no markings on it, nothing. So ended up having to just buy a whole new helm and steering system. And this is not a rack, which I like that better, but you know, for such a small motor, I don't think it's really gonna matter. But I got this whole steering system, which came with this stainless steel steering wheel, which I like much better than the plastic one that was on the old system. And it's brand new, so it's super smooth. So that's working well. I still need to find a front cap and get another half of a clamp for my engine hood. I didn't really do much work on the engine hood as far as getting it cleaned up. There's a couple pieces, but for now it's working good for now. I went ahead and mounted my battery up under here where it's gonna stay dry. And I wanted to do that because I did screw that into the deck. So that's the only thing that is screwed into the floor, and it's sealed with 4200. So I wanted whatever was screwed into the floor, I wanted up underneath the bow here. So if it got rained on or anything like that, it would never even see water. So it has a lot less water intrusion. My fuel tank, this is my little 3-gallon. It just tucks back here. It's not screwed in or anything. And I have a 6-gallon as well that kind of fits over there pretty snug. So it's not strapped down. Like I said, I didn't want to screw anything into the floor that I don't have to. And my fiberglass seat boxes that I molded out of inside Tupperware or inside Rubbermaid containers, I ended up just glassing those right to the floor. So those are not screwed in or anything like that. Just cut out the back side so you can shove a pair of shoes or a couple other things up under there if you want. But also gives me access to reach up under there and to access the bolts for the seats. The only wiring I've done on the boat, like I said, I've tried to keep this really, really simple since I do plan on using it for running down the intercoastal and going to dinner like I've done once, is just a pole mount stern light. And then my just general, this is the nav light that came with the boat. It was still in decent shape. I just replaced it with a LED bulb in there. And then I used the existing switch here, 2-way switch. So that is just the anchor light, and then all the way out is both running lights. So one switch does 2 things, and then my bilge is right here. This is just a magnet to mount my phone on, and it fires right up. It's running great. Yesterday, loaded down with a whole bunch of weights, a couple tanks, dive gear, anchor, 2 people, cooler, everything like that. It was actually kind of windy and kind of choppy, running into the wind, into the current, into the chop. We hit about 32 miles an hour, just about wide open with all that gear. So that's not bad. I think it runs about 35, 36 mile an hour. Top end, maybe a little more on nice flat water with just 2 people in it and 3 to 6 gallons of gas. So the prop probably could go up 1 pitch. This is a stainless steel prop that I already had, but since I plan on towing some people with it, with the tubes and everything, I think having the prop just a little bit under pitched is good. I got no tack, but I've been a long time Mercury guy, so I can hear when a Mercury's at 5,500 and whatnot, so I'm really not worried about over revving it. So it doesn't over rev as is right now, but I know it could probably turn 1 more pitch higher. But that is it. Work on getting the windshield on there, and that will really kind of set it off. Once the windshield's on there, I will do a little update video and show you guys that. But like I said, it's running great and it's working great, and it's a sweet little boat. I know some people are going to wonder what I have in the boat as far as how much money is invested, what it would cost to do something like this. You know, these projects can get really expensive. It all depends on, you know, how detailed you want to get with it as far as restoration, how perfect you want to make everything. I think this boat looks really well, but it doesn't look so good that I'm scared to use it. You know, I'm going to use this boat quite a bit. I already have actually used it quite a bit since I finished it and haven't even got around to making a finished video. But I think the last time I checked, so obviously the only thing that's not considered right now is the windshield, but considering like the motor that I got with it, fixed it up, sold it, applied that money towards, you know, the boat project, you know, got to subtract that from the total cost and everything. But in total, fiberglass, all the wood for the stringers, the seats, the engine, impeller, anything I did to the engine, the wood for the dash, the steering system, all the new wiring, you know, it cost about $100 for the cables to go from the motor all the way up to the bow. So that I had short cables, but you know, it cost me another $100-something to buy cables and fittings to put the battery up in the bow, the battery box and all the little things, all the hardware, everything that goes into the boat, the paint and all that stuff. Looking at from the time of purchase, including the boat, trailer, everything, to right now as it sits is about $2,600. So not even $3,000 invested in it. And I would happily pay $2,600 for something like this. Obviously there's a lot more time invested than anything, tons and tons of time, hundreds of hours. So as long as you're willing to do that, then you can get you a pretty nice little looking boat that's functional and cheap to operate and looks great. So thanks for watching, guys.